Welcome to the third video of the computer course that I've been running for Tilehurst Methodist Church. Today we're going to be talking about the web, or the World Wide Web, but it's usually shortened to just web. For many years, lots of people have sort of treated the internet and the web as if they were the same thing, and for quite a long time tech folks used to get a bit annoyed about that because they are somewhat distinct things. However, with apps on mobile phones and things, it's been a bit harder and harder to decide what is the web and what isn't. And really, you don't need to worry about it. But we're going to talk about how to get at web pages, how to do a search, how to use tabs in a web browser, and what a web browser is to start with, and how to use bookmarks. This is far from everything that you might want to know about the web, but hopefully it's a good starting point. So let's start off by talking about web browsers. You can think of a web browser as a little bit like a television. It's the thing that lets you see whatever it is you're going to watch or whatever web pages you're going to look at. And there are different web browsers around. Personally, I use Chrome. If you look, I'm just moving my pointer down to the bottom of my screen, the taskbar. So that's my shortcut for Chrome. I've also got Microsoft Edge installed and Firefox. So I normally use Chrome. If you're on Windows and you've just used default settings, you would probably have Edge. You might have installed Firefox. If you're on a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone, then you would probably be using Safari, which is Apple's web browser. And broadly speaking, they all have the same functionality. Again, a little bit like a television. You can watch the same things. The menus will look a bit different, and some will have a better picture quality for some particular, in the TV analogy, a better picture quality for watching movies or whatever. But broadly speaking, you can use any of them these days. They're all pretty good. So if I'll open Edge and Firefox just to show you what I mean, that they look a little bit different. They're clearly not exactly the same thing, but they've got things in common. So you can see some arrows that are used to go back and forward, a sort of, well, I know that this is a reload or a refresh button. It refreshes the current page, and you can see the same kind of thing is in Edge. They've got different starting pages. So Microsoft, the home page that you start with, has some news items and things, whereas in Firefox there are some news items down below, but it's encouraging you to search. The main thing that you need to know to start with is this box here. So pretty much at the top of any browser you use, just below the window title bar, etc., is what's called a text box where you can type things, called the address bar. Now that has two main purposes in web browsers. One is to allow you to search really easily, and the other is to put an address in. And an address, in this case, let me just type in HTTPS, I'll explain what that means in a minute, johnskeet.uk. So that's the address for my website, and that will go to my website when I press return. So you can absolutely, if someone gives you a link to a website, you could type it in there. More likely they will email it or share it on social media, and if you follow a link somewhere, that link will show up in the top bit. Now, I said I would explain what this HTTPS bit is, and likewise you might sometimes just see HTTP. So HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. You don't need to know what that means at all. However, it's worth being aware, if you see something with HTTP, that means it's not a secure connection. I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. And you can see that in Firefox, it's showing with a padlock with an arrow through it, a red line through it. If I do HTTPS, that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, it's the same site, but now there's a padlock to say, yes, I can see that this is a secure connection. That doesn't mean that the website is secure. It just means that any information that you pass from your web browser, suppose you're filling in a form with your email address, then if someone can snoop on your connection A little bit like if someone were to look in a post box and see who things are addressed to, with HTTPS, they wouldn't be able to see any of the information that you sent to the site. There's nothing to say that the site is going to be reliable or trustworthy. All it's saying is the connection between you and the site is secure. So imagine you were having a phone call with someone. Well, with just HTTP, so that's with the padlock with a line through it, that's like having your phone call in the middle of a crowded train carriage. Other people might be able to hear what you're saying. With HTTPS, no one else can hear what you're saying. So whatever goes from your browser to the website, that part of it is secure. As I say, usually you won't need to type in links, but it's worth knowing that you can. What you typically do is use either the web browser address bar, or maybe you explicitly go to a search site like Google. Obviously, I'm a Google employee. I tend to use Google. And you can search. So going to Google to start with, you can certainly do it if you want, but it's generally quicker just to click into the address bar and type whatever you want to search. So I'm going to type chocolate brownies. We're going to imagine that we wanted to find a good chocolate brownie recipe. So I can see various recipes here, and I'm just scrolling down with my mouse wheel. I could also go over to the scroll bar and click and drag. Equally, if I just went to google.com and then I'm going to stay signed out for the moment and type chocolate brownies, there is one benefit here that I get all the suggestions coming down as I'm typing, but I can type chocolate brownies and I get basically the same set of results as before. So that's the address bar. You can use it to see what you're looking at. So in this case, I'm on google.com/search and then what's called a query after that. You don't need to worry about any of this. That's all fine. So you can see where you're browsing at the moment. You can also use it to go to somewhere else. So again, I could go to my web page by typing that in, or you can search just by typing and pressing return. Now, you may have noticed just clicking into the address bar already selects everything there. So if you just want to change one part of it, if you click again, then it will unselect it, and then you can just change some of what you're going to, the address that you're navigating to. But quite often, usually in my experience, you just click, and with it all selected, you're either going to type something new or you're going to copy and paste. So the link here, the address, is absolutely what you would want to share if you had some good chocolate brownie recipe and you wanted to share this with someone. So let's go to the Good Food website, accept cookies. I probably shouldn't say you should always just accept cookies. You probably don't need to understand details about what cookies are. They do allow websites to track your track how you're moving around the web, as it were. But for the most part, if some reputable site says, do you want to accept cookies, it's normally fine to say yes. But suppose we're on this site and we have a look through and say, oh yes, this looks like a good chocolate brownie recipe. If I want to share that with someone, I would normally go to the address bar. Now I would press Control-C, which is a shortcut we've talked about before for copying, but you could also right click and select copy. And then in wherever I'm sharing this, which might be in a social media post or it might be email, in this case, let's just pretend I'm going to a different web browser. If I press Control-V or just use right click and paste, then the link comes up, and if I navigate to that, it goes to the same recipe. So when you want to share something, some people have previously shared with me search results. So if I want to find a video of, let's find a video of In Christ Alone, for example. So some people before now have, when they've wanted to share a video, they've actually shared search results. Now it's better to go to the video that you're interested in, and then let me just ignore that bit. And I don't want to actually play anything. Just click into the link, into the address bar, and then copy with Control-C, or with the right click to get the context menu up and say copy. And then I can paste that into an email or whatever. So that's how you would do sharing of links. Now, I've shown various times me clicking into the address bar. There is a shortcut for that as well, and you never need to worry if you're starting to feel, oh, there are so many shortcuts here. Control-C, Control-V, you've talked about Windows E, all kinds of things. You never need to worry about that or think that you need to remember all of them. You might want to make up a little cheat sheet to have next to your computer with the most important ones. But it's worth being aware that there often are ones. So if you find yourself doing something over and over again, think to yourself, is there a shortcut for it? And maybe ask someone. So in the case of clicking into the address bar, if I press Control-L, so that's holding down Control, then press and release L, then it gets me to the address bar, and again, everything's selected, so I could just copy it at that point, or I can start typing something in, either to do a search or an actual website link, a URL. So we're going to go back to our chocolate brownies again, and we're going to talk about tabs as the next thing. So already, with what I've described at the moment, being able to search, being able to share links with other people, and being able to go directly to a link if you have the address that someone's shared with you somehow, that's already enough to spend hours and hours and hours on the web, because there is an almost infinite amount of interesting information. But the rest of this is to just be a little bit more efficient about how you do it. So I'm going to introduce the idea of tabs. You'll see up at the top here, top left, it says chocolate brownies and Google, but it's not showing all of Google search unless I hover over that bit. When a little tooltip comes up, the tooltip is a bit, if you move your pointer so that it what's called hovers over something, and if some extra text comes up, that's called a tooltip. And in this case, the tooltip comes up saying chocolate brownies Google search. Now you might be wondering, well, if it's going to say that, why doesn't it show that for, extend this bit further over to the right and show all of it? And the answer is because usually you might have multiple tabs open. Tabs are just a way of seeing lots of pages, or more than one page at a time. It doesn't mean actually at exactly the same time, but having more than one page open and being able to switch between them really easily. The easiest way of opening a tab is if you've got something with some links, often search results, but any other things as well. If you're on a page with some links, if you hold down Control when you click, so I've pressed Control, I'm holding it, and I'm now just going to left click on Best Ever Chocolate Brownies recipe, and you can see at the top a second tab has come up here, a second little box. I'm going to open another couple of tabs. So now we can see there are 4 tabs, and I can switch between them just by clicking on the tab name, and they've all got things saying about, are you going to accept cookies? That's fine. And now I can see all the different brownie recipes. Well, there are lots of other brownie recipes I could open, lots and lots of tabs, but I can easily switch between these to compare them. And that can be really, really useful. Sometimes you'll want to get rid of a tab, and you can do that with a little X, and I think all the browsers will have an X, just like there's an X over here on the right hand side to close the whole window, an X on the tab will just close that tab. So if I'm not interested in the one from Good Food, I can close it. You can close the tab that you're looking at the moment. That's all fine. Now, if you accidentally close a tab, then you can right click on the title bar and click on reopen closed tab, or you can use Control Shift and T. So that's holding down Control, then holding down Shift with Control still held down, and then just press and release T, and it reopens another tab. The last tab that you closed that you haven't previously reopened. And that's almost all you need to know about tabs. They're useful if you want to look at more than one thing at a time, if you're comparing multiple things, or if you think, well, I'm reading an article about something, but there's a link halfway down the article, and I really want to be able to come back to that later on. Well, instead of having to remember, oh, there was that link about going on holiday to France, and there was something that was interesting about a book that I've just read or whatever, instead of having to remember all of that, you can just go down and maybe I want to look at other chocolate dessert recipes. You could just hold down Control, click there, and another tab will come up. I've shown you that you can click between tabs. I'm just left clicking here. As ever, there's a shortcut for it. You can hold down Control and press page up or page down, and that will just navigate between those tabs. Likewise, although at the moment I've only shown you creating a new tab by Control clicking on a link, you can open a new tab that's blank, so that will often go to a search page, for example, using the plus here. So that just opens a new tab. Or you can press Control T and it does exactly the same thing, just opens a new blank tab or your home page or whatever it is. And again, you can close it. Now, if you've opened lots of tabs, maybe I've opened every chocolate brownie recipe I can find, and I've got loads and loads. It's not uncommon for me to have 30 or 40 tabs open, and you just think, I'm never going to actually look through all of those. If you right click on the tab title, then on Firefox you go to close multiple tabs. On Chrome you just have close tabs to the right as an option, and I would imagine it's the same on Edge. And that typically close tabs to the right is a common idea. So if you make sure that everything you're still interested in is on the left hand side, then you can do close tabs to the right and it will get rid of everything else. So maybe, as another example, I've looked at several recipes and maybe I really like this perfect chocolate brownies and Mary Berry easy chocolate brownies, so I might click and drag that tab over to the left, drag that tab over to the left, and then say, nope, I don't care about any of the rest of them. And there we go. I've still got the search results and I could get rid of those, and then I've got the two recipes that I was interested in. Now, what happens if I want to come back to one of those recipes later on? Or maybe you want to come back to the computer course videos, for example. That's where bookmarks come in. Now, currently there aren't any bookmarks showing. There we go. I've opened the bookmark bar, which I did with Control Shift B, but you probably won't need to do that. Either you'll already have some bookmarks showing, or it will just show your empty bookmark bar already. If you really need to, if you know that you've got bookmarks and they're not showing, then usually the application menu, which is in the top right of most browsers, will have a bookmarks, and it will have show or hide bookmarks toolbar or bookmarks bar. Different browsers have slightly different names for it, but the basic same idea will apply. So let's create two bookmarks. We're going to create one bookmark for this BBC Food page, and then I'll show you finding the computer course page and bookmarking that. So if I go into the bookmark bar, into the application menu, bookmarks, and say bookmark current tab, a little dialog comes up saying, well, what do you want to call this? And I'll just call it brownies. And hit save. And you can now see there's a little button just below the address bar. That's where on most browsers bookmarks show up just below the address bar. And I will demonstrate, if I close my browser entirely and reopen it, I can still get back to brownies really easily. Let's create a new tab and find the computer course. So I'm going to press Ctrl T. I'm just going to search Tilehurst Methodist Church YouTube. Finds what I want really quickly, the channel. I'm then going to go to playlists and computer course. Now I'm not interested in computer course session 1. So I'm going to, I've slightly lost my way a bit, which happens quite a lot when browsing. And that's what navigating back and forward is for. So I'm just going to press this left arrow, which is go backwards, and it shows me... Hi folks, this is a sort of video... Ignore that. It shows me the page I was looking at before. And instead of clicking on the video title, which now I see says play all, I want to say view full playlist. And there we go. That's showing the full list of videos. And so I want to create a bookmark for that. Now, last time I went up to the application menu and bookmark bar. This time I'm going to use the shortcut. As you guessed, there's always a shortcut. And in most browsers, if you press Control and then D, so I'm holding down Control, press D, again, it comes up with a bookmark dialog. And in fact, because I was slightly surprised by this, I haven't used Firefox for a little while, because I didn't move the mouse or anything for a little while, it just saved the bookmark as it was, saying Computer Course YouTube. I can edit that if I right click on it and say edit bookmark. Well, I don't want it to be called Computer Course YouTube, I'll just call it TMC Course. And that will change how it shows up in my bookmark bar. But the main thing is I can easily go to places that I want to get to quite often just by clicking there. So that's how to use bookmarks. And if I decide I don't want to bookmark anymore, I can right click on it and just do delete bookmark, and it's gone. Dead easy. You can have whole folders of bookmarks. I won't go into that right now. In any detail, I'll just say you can do add folder. It will look slightly different in different browsers, but this is just a way of organizing, just like folders and files allow you to organize your documents on your computer. So bookmark folders allow you to have different folders of bookmarks. So if I open my normal browser, which is Chrome, let's see, I've got a whole folder of ECMA things. This is a computer standardization body, diagnostics, church, so lots of different bookmarks for church audio things. So you can imagine if I had all of those and 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 all of those, etc., all in one bookmark bar, I'd never be able to find anything. But because they're organized into folders, I can easily get back to one thing instead of having them all in one place. And that's all I'm going to say about web browsing. Definitely ask me any questions when we're at church together, or you can email me, which leads me into the next video, which will be about email. So for now, have fun web browsing. So don't forget about choosing your web browser. Whatever web browser you're using is probably fine, but there are options available. The address bar for links and for searching. Using the address bar to copy and paste a link to share it with other people, creating multiple tabs so that you can browse with various pages open and easily switch between them, and finally, keeping track of things using bookmarks. That's all for now. Bye.